What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Raw Prospect Podcast. Today is Monday, May 15th. Once again, for episode 166. Today, we're previewing the PGA Championship, going through our tiers draft like we do for every single major throughout the year. But before that, as always, joining me from Austin, Texas, the Stat King himself, Mr. Michael Wing. What's up?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 166 of the Raw Prospect Podcast, 10:40 p.m., Monday, May 15th, the week of the 100-something championship, PGA Championship at Oak Hill. I think it's 165, if I'm not mistaken. Anywho, we're going to do our tiers draft. Do we want to bring up the tiers on a shared screen? Do you want me to do that?
I got it. I can do it.
When he's got that, he has the first pick. Just a little recap here. He did win the little mini competition with score to under par at the Masters. He had an insane draft. All 5 players that he drafted, and you can go look at this on our Raw Prospect social media, particularly our Twitter account. All 5 players that he picked went under par. But for that particular draft, we went through all 6 tiers and we had our top 5 scores count. For this one, since it's not the Masters, but it is still a major, we're just going to do the first 5 tiers, 1 player from each tier. On the screen, you see tier number 1, and Emmy has the first selection.
Yeah. For tier 1, obviously you have your common list of names: John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler. You can't go wrong with those guys. But I'm actually going to throw a curveball here. I'm going to go with Brooks Koepka.
Bad pick
He's
at
in
all.
good form right now. Played well this week in the Live Golf event in Tulsa. So I think with him in good form and how he's been able to perform in majors in the past and the good showing that he had in Augusta as well, I think there's reason to believe Brooks Koepka is going to show up like he tends to do in these majors.
Yeah, he's won 2 2 PGA championships. He thrives on the majors. Like, that is what he wants. That's what he lives to win, and that's what he motivates him. I think he'll play well, and he'll be a factor this week after he was a huge factor at the Masters for much of that tournament. John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, both great picks. But I'm actually going to throw out another curveball. I was between Patrick Cantlay, whose game has been in pretty good shape as of late, and Xander Schauffele, but I'm leaning Xander Schauffele. I'm going to go Xander Schauffele, the 5th-ranked player in the world, playing really good golf as of late. Has 6 PGA starts. They haven't been great. Only 1 top 10 finish in his 6 PGA Championship tries. But no matter, his game is in good form. Past PGA champions, especially the past 7 years, have been in good form coming into the PGA Championship. He's finished tied 5th or better in 4 of his past 5 starts overall. He ranks 4th in strokes gained and 5th in overall scoring average. I don't think there are many holes in his game right now, and I think at some point he's going to have a breakthrough. Whether he wins or not is the question. I think he's going to play well. He's going to be methodical, efficient, and yeah, that's going to be my first round pick.
Yeah, I think one great thing about Xander Schauffele is he always thinks his way around the golf course really well. I think, to me, that's his greatest strength. His putting is great. His iron play is great. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the world, but he rarely makes mistakes, and that's what keeps him in contention week after week. Now for tier 2, Cam Young is who I went with in tier 2 for the Masters. And I'm tempted to go with him again just because this course, it really lends itself to carry distance. Not just length in general. If you're getting a lot of rollout, not a lot of carry, you got to get carry distance because you want to be able to fly past all of the trouble at around 310, 300 yards on most of these holes. So I think I'm just gonna stick with my guns and go with Cameron Young again.
Yeah, that's a great pick. He was my number one target in tier number 2. He's been brilliant at the majors. Tied third last year's PGA, runner up at the Open Championship, tied seventh at the Masters last month. He's a big game hunter, and there's no reason to expect with the.
Actually, sorry. I think maybe we should do a snake draft to make things fair. Are you cool with
Yeah,
that?
if you want to do that, sure,
Yeah,
but
we can. We're gonna pivot over to a snake draft, which will lend Michael that first pick in the second round. And are you gonna take Cameron Young as well?
well, I was going to, and thank you for, I guess, adjusting that. I think that's completely fair and
Mm-hmm.
very nice of you. If Cam Young wasn't available, I was debating between. I mean, credit to Jason Day. He's in good form right now. He just won at the Byron Nelson. We'll see if he can keep that up, but he's been playing well lately. He was in sort of my air of consideration. Also, you can't really count out Cam Smith, as good as that guy is. Wasn't really in his greatest form at the Masters, but still really good. And then obviously at a tough course where the scores could potentially be lower, Matt Fitzpatrick could play himself into contention as he has at a couple majors now and has actually won one. And then Max Homa has been I think one of the better overall golfers the past like half year to a year on the PGA Tour. He's just really struggled in majors. There are some really good players in this tier. And one of these guys could win the PGA. Is Spieth playing this week? I guess he is.
It's still a question mark.
Okay.
He has that wrist injury, so
So we're gonna shy away from Spieth. I am going to go Cam Young. Um, I've shied away from him the past couple drafts, but I think I'm gonna go Cam Young. As I mentioned, he's been brilliant in the majors. 15th in the world. Only has one PGA start, but he was tied third. He's a big game hunter, so I'm going to go Cam Young.
yeah, I think that's a fantastic pick. Obviously, the pick I was going to make before we pivoted over. For my pick, I'm between Jason Day, and Max Homa. Um, I'm kind of leaning against a guy like Colin Morikawa, who's been a little bit inconsistent as of late with the putter. Um, I think I'm gonna go with Max Homa here. I think that he's not the longest hitter, but he doesn't really move the ball from left to right or right to left really that much. He's really just a straight ball hitter, and this isn't really a course with a ton of dog legs where you want to commit to a shot shape like a Augusta National at the Masters. So I think that will kind of lend itself to his game because you really just have to pick a target and commit to that at this type of course.
Yeah, absolutely. You get another pick.
Okay, round three. Um, this is where it gets a little bit tougher. I'm gonna go with Taylor Gooch. He obviously won in Adelaide at the Australian Live Golf event, shooting a crazy low score of 28 under, I believe it was. So he could really go low when he's hot. Um, I think he's yet to have, a great showing in a major. And I think this might be where he breaks through and does that.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I like that pick. Okay, tier 3. Again, some really good players in this tier. We've seen Wyndham Clark get his first PGA Tour win, I believe, a couple weeks ago. Tommy Fleetwood's been in pretty good form as of late. Ricky Fowler has actually picked it up lately. But I think for me, I I I really like something about Tom Kim's game. He's a young guy, 22 years old, and I'm between him, Tommy Fleetwood, or Sahith Theegala. I think one of these young guys is going to play well, and we saw Kim thrive off a raucous crowd like we might see this week in Rochester, New York. Uh, I believe it was last year's President's Cup
Right.
or
Right.
the last President's Cup. I picked him for the Masters, and it wasn't necessarily a disaster, but it wasn't great at the same time. But I do think he's going to have a solid week. So I'm going to take a little bit of a gamble. I believe he's 75-1. I could go with Fleetwood, but I'm going to go with Tom Kim.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he is ultra talented. I mean, when he's on, he's already won multiple times on the European Tour, or excuse me, the DP World Tour. Now they changed their name, and obviously was dominant as a young guy, as a teenager on the Asian tours. So I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah.
All right, tier 4. Okay,
Ooh.
oh man, Bryson DeChambeau is a strange one. Just because
I think
he's he
I get another pick, but go ahead and say what you're going to say.
oh right. Bryson DeChambeau is a enigma just because he's so explosive yet so inconsistent at the same time. Like he has the ability to just tear a golf course apart if he's on with the driver, but it's so rare. It feels like. But I'm just going to go ahead and let you make your pick.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's hard to totally know a lot of the live golfers' form, as I know I don't watch live golf on a regular basis.
Right.
Um, but Patrick Reed was in the mix at the Masters a couple, last month, and some of these guys we've seen like Justin Rose have had ability to hang in majors. But for me, I think I'm going to go with a guy that I've really liked who's been really solid in majors, and Joaquin Neiman. Made 10 straight cuts at the majors. His game is typically in pretty good form. A tied 16th at this year's Masters. He's been struggling a little bit, according to Golf Digest, on the Live Golf Tour. So, I can read into that all I want, but I'm going to trust my gut, and I'm going to go Joaquin Neiman.
I really like that pick. Neiman is a guy who is so unique with his swing because he has that really awkward bend at the top and really shallows out the club very aggressively. Um, he's so flexible to be able to put that amount of strain on his back and his hips. That's a move that very few people in the world would be able to do, and he's able to do it at the highest level. And it allows for him to control his ball flight so well. He's able to play so many low shots when it's windy. So if it's windy out there, that would play right into his strengths. So I think that's a great pick.
Real fast, who was your tier 2 pick again? Because I'm writing them down.
My tier 2 pick was Taylor Gooch. Or
Okay.
no, that was Taylor. Tier 2 was Max Homa.
Okay, perfect. All right, go ahead with your next pick.
Okay. My pick for tier 4, man, I think I'm gonna bite the cheese and go with DeChambeau.
Okay.
It's a risky pick, but it's tier 4, so it's a low risk one. And I just think with what I know about this course and the fact that it's a long hitter's course and it's gonna play into a long hitter's hands, I just have to go with possibly the longest hitter on the PGA Tour of all time,
Yeah.
and just kind of trust that.
Okay. You got to take some risks. I get it. And I've taken some as well. last month's Masters draft, and of course this one as well. Tier 5, you get your first pick from this group of players in Tier 5.
Okay. Yeah, this oh man. Out of this group, you know, Abraham Answer to me is the interesting one. Um, just because he's such an amazing ball striker, very similar to Joaquin Neiman in the sense that he's just elite with an iron in his hand. But I think for this pick, I'm actually going to go with Denny McCarthy. Um, he's a guy who's been in good form, pretty consistent this year, um, pretty new on tour as well. But I really like his putting. That's what I point to and with that pick. And obviously, it's kind of contradictory to my picking scheme with trying to pick long hitters, but I just think Denny McCarthy is just extremely solid. And as long as his putter is rolling, um, he'll be somewhere in the mix.
Okay, I like that pick. A little bit of a sleeper. Not a lot of the casual golf fans, I don't think, will know that name, but certainly been good as of late, and that's important. When you look at the statistics for the past decades, PGA Championship winners, they've historically been in good form going in to this week. That's not the case for every major, although at this point, we're not necessarily picking for a guy to win the tournament. We're just looking for a guy that could potentially surprise and play well in Tier 5. There are a couple guys I was considering. Answer is, of course, always an interesting case. Tom Hoagie, actually, believe it or not, came into last week at the Byron Nelson, where Jason Day won, and he was leading the tour in strokes gained approach. He's been very good um, on his approach shots, just as good on the short ones. He's second in proximity to the hole from inside 100 yards, and he's second to proximity from the hole from 225 yards. So he's been very good on strokes gained approach, but he hasn't been all that great as of recently. Um, he's failed to make the weekend in 5 of his last 7 starts before last week in Dallas. I'm still considering him, but it's tough. I think I'm going to lean, though, um, Abraham Answer. Keith Mitchell was another guy I was considering, but I'm going to go Abraham Answer for no particular reason other than he's typically pretty consistent, and I just need a guy who can make the cut and play well. So
Right.
I think I'm going to go Abraham Answer.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a solid pick, as I said before. Um, how do you feel about your draft? I think for me personally, I'm not quite as confident as I was heading into the Masters with my picks, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think this is probably a more well-rounded approach for me in this particular draft than it was the Masters, but we'll see. I feel really good about my first two, Shoffley and Cam Young. The fact that you gave me the opportunity to do the snake draft was important in my success, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Of course, you've had a really good feel for this type thing in the past, and Kepka, man, he's just a killer
Right.
in these situations, and he's had the most major success out of any of the players that we drafted by far. So given that, I think you should have some hope. And Max Homa is due for a breakthrough, I think, along with DeChambeau, who's won a major before. But yeah, I think this will be more evenly matched than the Masters was. Even though I didn't do particularly bad at the
Right. You
Masters,
did pretty solid.
you just did incredible.
Yeah, my I hit on every single pick. That was strange, I'd say. One thing I do want to do before we wrap this up is just a quick reminder on the rules and how we do this. So each player that we picked, they're going to be added up to a cumulative score at the end of the week. And if any of our players miss the cut, that's going to be a 5-stroke penalty to our cumulative score. So say for example, Xander Schauffele misses the cut and Michael finishes the week 15 under, then that would be a 5-stroke penalty and he would go down to 10 under par.
Okay. Look, I'm fine with that. I was going to say maybe a 3-stroke penalty.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we can do 3. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think 5
5's
might
a
be a
little
little
rough, yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand your point. So we'll do a 3-stroke penalty. We'll kind of settle in the middle for miscut by a player. To remind you guys, just so I can get the exact, I want to go back and look at how actually good the Masters draft was, because if you look at my picks, they weren't actually that terrible. It was just Emmy's picks were absolutely incredible. I have it right here. Now, it helped that he was able to nail John Rahm, who finished 12 under and won the tournament. That helps in itself. But he had Xander Schauffele 4 under, Cam Young 6 under, Matt Fitzpatrick 4 under, and Kirk at 1 under for a cumulative total of 27 under par for the tournament. For me, I had Scheffler at 4 under, Morikawa at 4 under, Sahith Theegala at 5 under, Siwoo Kim at -2, and then Harold Varner III at +1 for a decent total of 14 under overall, but not 27 under. You almost doubled my output there. So that was how it worked for that one. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. And I think we'll continue to do stuff like this for major championships to come. Because
Yeah,
I like how we
absolutely.
do this. It gives
Yeah,
us
I think
go ahead.
this will be a big part of our podcast moving forward because this is actually one thing that I've been pretty good at,
Yes.
which is, you know, it's strange a little bit just because we don't typically focus on golf on this podcast, but I guess it does make sense since um, with how much golf that I have played. But one thing that I will add is I think maybe we do the 3-stroke penalty and then
Mhm.
maybe we can have one dropped score. So if you have one player miss the cut, you can drop that score and you can be fine without the stroke penalty. But say if you have 2 players miss the cut, then that's where the 3-stroke penalty would come in.
Okay. I like that. I say, we have we have lots of opportunities to play around with the rules for this and
Right.
find our sweet spot. So I say for each tournament we can move it around based on how we like how the previous draft worked out.
Right.
Um, One major announcement that I think we need to make before we sign off is we're sort of changing our approach. We're in the process of changing our approach a little bit to podcasts. And it's not necessarily that we won't have live streams anymore. We will at points in times if it's necessary. But we're going to be moving towards more of a shorter episode approach between 45 and 55 minutes, a singular sport focused episode approach. Shorter episodes focused on one particular sport that'll be shorter rather than the longer episodes between an hour 15 and an hour 30 minutes with multiple sports within that. We want to be able to target fans of all sports in a fair and equal way. And we want to make it easier on the audience to find that content. So we'll have NBA episodes. One will be released here pretty soon, our Eastern and Western Conference Finals preview. We're going to have, of course, this golf focused episode out. And then coming out later this week and in the future, we'll have baseball focused episodes. We'll have some more football focused episodes. And then we'll, of course, have our Patreon as well. But that's just a little bit of a change in approach that we're making to this podcast that we view as a change for potentially the better to garner some more viewership and attention for the Raw Prospect podcast. But that does not mean that there still won't be episodes where we go a little longer. Certain episodes will warrant that. But that's going to be what the majority of our episodes are going to look like moving forward. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just one thing. I think it will result in more episodes coming out, which will be good. And just it'll just be a lot more palatable for, say a commute to work or just being able to fit it into y'all's daily routine. So we hope that that really helps y'all out.
Absolutely. So with that all being said, that's going to do it for episode 166 of the Raw Prospect Podcast. Enjoy the PGA Championship. I don't really have a outro. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, I'll give my best shot. Just like um just like the chances of Jordan Spieth having a healthy wrist, we are gone. Peace out.
There we go. Peace out, y'all. See y'all next time.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to click on one of these two videos right here, our latest video right here on the left, or the video YouTube recommends for you on the right.